Green Hell tests your ultimate survival skills by throwing you into the Amazon rainforest with the bare necessities and the most confusing wife that all too much reminds me of reality. The story is about your journey of finding out where your wife is and why she's ruining your vacation in the Amazon. I mean, come on. Just wanted to chill by a campfire while doing rain dances with my tribe mates. I think the developers had a missed opportunity. They could have taken the story towards a man abandoning his wife and kids in order to never have to wear clothes again. But maybe that will be Green Hell 2. As normal on this channel, I like to stroke my ego by adding an additional and nonsensical challenge to the games I play. Plus, I really needed something to add to my Twitter bio to outgame these other gamers. So, instead of using all of the weapons and tools the developers probably spent hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars creating, I decided to see if I could beat the story in Green Hell using only a hatchet. It all began with a quick tutorial and an intro to jog my memory on the controls and mechanics of Green Hell. It also reminded me how tired I would be of searching for my wife halfway through the game. To make a short story long, my wife Mia has attempted to join a local tribe to observe them. Creepy, I know. When she calls for help and I, the main character, try to go find her, I end up falling and sliding down a cliff with nothing but what I have on me. And I must say, for a survival game, I could have never predicted such a start to my story. This is where the tutorial ends and my challenge of beating this story using only a hatchet begins. I trek down towards the closest point of interest where my first mission would take place. Here you get a map and can build a fire to make some crazy drug that makes dealing with Mia a lot easier. I know this may be a surprise to most of you, but in order to beat this game with only a hatchet, one should acquire said hatchet. I did just that. I took some stones and sticks and made a few hatchets knowing I would go through a few of them. Then I made a fire and started to cook and eat random things. I couldn't remember what plants were good to eat and which ones were not, so like a fat man at a buffet, I ate a lot of everything. The itty bitty side effect to this was a major loss of sanity due to constant puking caused by food poisoning. Not really a big deal. And I'm no survival expert, but I either passed out from overeating or from the food poisoning. I'll let you decide. When I woke up from my forced sleep, I did my best to find whatever I could nearby to help heal the food poisoning, parasites, and hunger. As I sat by my fire working through my inventory, reality started slipping away and I started hearing voices. It was comforting hearing something other than vomit noises. Then out of freaking nowhere, I get Judy chopped in the back of the head. I turn to see who it is. Then like an MMA fighter who traveled back in time, a tribesman flying punched me in the noggin with a rock and said, "Sleep." My survival instincts allowed me to survive a whopping total of 24 hours while vomiting a total of 7 times, which is the stat I only care about. You're not winning if you're not puking. Luckily, since I ate a bunch of different stuff, I quickly learned what to eat and what not to eat for the most part. The knowledge gained from my tragic death stayed with me as I started up again from the beginning. Just like before, I picked up a few things along my travel to that camp. I created a hatchet, which is important for this stupid challenge. Food early on is easier than you would think in Green Hell. I mean, this random trap at this complex had a dead frog in it. I tossed Frank into my bag. Yes, I named the frog Frank, and he is now my dead pet frog. Look, at least it's not some volleyball. I also created the fastest healing bandage known to man by using some special plant I could care less about knowing the name of. As the sun hid behind the planet, I decided me and Frank needed to part ways. Nothing ends a good friendship like eating them out. Wait, that came out wrong. As Frank relaxed on the drying rack, I worked on the next part of the story by building a fire under this tribal bowl altar thingy. Like any sane survivalist, with a severe lack of food, drinkable water, and no real shelter, I cooked up a psychedelic concoction. Really all that is needed is a special root from a tree nearby and a basic fire. This concoction actually sends you on a trip that Demi Lovato hasn't even been on. After taking a quick sip, miraculously the sun appeared, turning night into the afternoon. Not really sure how that works. To make things even creepier, a half-naked tribal child appeared giggling in front of me. And the totally normal reaction is to chase him while tripping out on some native drug. So that's what I did. And just in case you were wondering, these survival tips can be found in any of your everyday survival books. Just refer to the "Whose kid is this and why am I high" section. While chasing this kid around, the past starts to reveal itself. Your wife starts creepily talking to you in the most disappointed tone ever. As she explains a few things to me, I couldn't help but admire the tribe's haircuts. I mean, this guy here literally could land an airplane on his head. After a few more scenes, you snap back into reality and something interesting happens that makes beating this game with only a hatchet a lot easier. And that is, each time you have that special drink, no matter how bad of a state you're in regarding health, hydration, etc., when you come back to reality, you miraculously have full stats, making progressing the story the best way to survive. Now that is what I call realism. Also, each time you drink that drinkity drink, it unlocks a new section of the map. You can get to the new section by just going where you followed the kid. This may be the only game that rewards you for being a kid-chasing drug addict. I spent the remainder of the night chat-chitting with the wife, embracing the long-distance relationship. When morning came, I studied the map and planned my venture to the next section. Oh, and if getting a full stat refresh at every milestone didn't make my task any easier, check this out. I never had to hunt a single thing. It's pretty easy to forage your food. I mean, there were just dead birds and animals everywhere. And because Frank took a trip down my esophagus, I kind of needed a new pet. So I named this one Puff Daddy. Hell, at this point I was even wondering if I needed the hatchet. But I did want to avoid what happened earlier, which was one karate chop to the head, and I would have to redo all of this. In order to save the game in Green Hill, you must build a shelter. I decided this was worth my time and a necessary precaution. I built up on a ledge where it's easy to find, and I'm pretty sure those crazy tribal duders won't come up here. I went to work with my hatchet, and shortly after, I had a nice little leaf hut and a small fire. Here, I saved the game, did some inventory management, and ate some food. I relied on coconuts for my water. I mean, in-game it rains every 5 to 10 minutes, so I never really ran out. All I needed was to find the coconut, chop it with the hatchet, and then I just would keep the coconuts and drop them on the ground. Then I would do a little rain dance and voila, I had fresh water. I made my way down to the camp so I can follow the route to the new section. Meanwhile, I whispered sweet nothings to Mia on the radio while picking up necessities off the ground such as mushroom sticks and, yes, dead birds. I began to question what type of game I was even playing. This game is hand-feeding me everything. Maybe I should add some dramatic music and exaggerate my every encounter to make this seem like an impossible task. Then I'll look like a gaming Herculean legend, and more importantly, I'll fit in with all the other big YouTubers. I believe that's an excellent idea. Just witness my epic fight for survival in the Amazon, fighting the local tribes, dangerous animals, and the most annoying life partner ever. Will I make it out alive, or will death prevail? I'm just kidding. I must admit though, I did get a bit lost trying to find the next objective, but while lost, I conveniently ran into a fishing camp. And you won't even believe what I found there. No, it wasn't the Darwin Initiative. It was fish. As if the game wasn't hand-feeding me enough, I found fish, large amounts of canned and bagged food, and even better, a sleeping bag with the ability to save. I also found a fish trap and could probably build more things, but why even bother if I can just pick up bags of chips, MREs, and dead Puff Daddies to survive? Although this place was a nice find and a good little distraction, I didn't waste much time and continued toward uncharted territory to find the next point of interest, and more specifically, a grappling hook, so I could gain access to the areas that required one. I finally did run across something helpful, a nice little mud road that will eventually lead me towards a major objective or death. Both would be pleasant options at this point. A smart survivalist would probably sleep through the night, but I lean a bit on the crazy side. Not to mention this game has been a cakewalk so far, so I'd as well push onward through the night to find the almighty grappling hook needed to move the story along. I then ran into a turned over Jeep where I found painkillers and a jerry can filled with gas. That way if I do get lost, I can just start a forest fire in order to see further and make my way out of this hellhole. In all seriousness, this gas can is used to fill up this generator which operates the elevator. Down here is where I find that stupidly difficult to locate grappling hook. You also find a nice bag of gold, the biggest necessity for survival. I mean, I should get paid for this shit. And if I do make it out alive, I'm going to divorce Mia and she will probably take half my money, so this little nest egg could be useful. As you can see here in my inventory, I have a huge stockpile of supplies. Just read the survival manual on how to acquire such items if you ever get stuck in the woods somewhere. I'm sure they will be just as easy to get as they were for me. With the grappling hook acquired, we have the ability to go anywhere the game has to offer, which in our case, we're heading straight for the end game because at this point, I'm so over the Amazon. I decided to take a cat nap, not really sure why. I guess I like running around in the dark knowing that I had a better chance of dying by falling out of my chair while editing this video than in this survival game. I made my way back to my original camp because there you'll find a ledge to use the grappling hook on. This leads you to another ritual circle. In order to get out of hell, you must do drugs. So I referred to my family's recipe book for drug making. We normally make it during family gatherings, but now it seems like a special occasion. I started the fire, put in the special flowers and roots, and bada bing, I was high on life and the answer to survival will present itself to me. And just like that, I spent the next few moments chasing a half-naked tribal child around the wilderness for the second time in order to get answers on where life went wrong to end up here. But I must have drank a little bit too much of the jungle juice because all of a sudden I appear to be back home, but in the past. That is when the real truth started revealing itself. You see, the waifu, Mia, is or was terminally ill. I went to the jungle in order to find a cure. But then just like that, the effects wore off when I was back at the ritual area. But the even better news is yet again my stats were fully maxed out. From here on out, the game and story is extremely linear, and any point of survival is not necessary. I literally go from point A to point B immediately. Hell, the only bad things that happened to me on this playthrough was a couple of snake bites and the occasional rash, which just goes away over time. I didn't even need to bandage it or anything. And as you can see here, before the end of the day, I made it to the next grappling location with ease, full health and stamina. All I did was press W. Trying to beat the sunset did mean I had to forego carefully maneuvering through the forest, so I did step on this little guy. In return, he just gave me a little nibble to remind me not to do that. Since I had found enough painkillers to numb an entire nation, dealing with this poisonous snake bite, which caused a fever, was as easy as taking a pill and applying a bandage. Literally, that's it. Afterwards, I quickly ran into an abandoned airstrip. I know, right? I had to be considered a better survivalist than Bear Grylls at this point. As usual, I looted it up. I also fixed a radio and communicated with someone who only asked if I was alone.
Are you alone?
We'll just call him Benjamin Linus. I used this key to unlock a nearby shed. In here is climbing equipment, snatched that right up, so unlucky of me to find. And not too far off was an area to use that said equipment to climb down. And like a home-cooked meal sitting on the table cooked by my dear wife, some scuba equipment was just sitting here next to the underwater cave I needed to swim through to get to the next objective. Can you believe that? Made it to another ritual site, did more drugs, saw more crazy things like the fact that I caused an epidemic that killed thousands by me coming here looking for a cure. Like, what the heck? Don't put that kind of weight on my shoulders. I'm trying to be Tarzan, not some terrorist. Anyways, I woke up from my high in a cave cuddling a skeleton. Nothing abnormal about that. It gets lonely out here by yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted some affection, you feel? Next up on my map was some medical tents that had blood vials and a bunch of testing equipment in it. This is probably where I was trying to make the cure or something, but I left that life and wife behind and decided to kill the entire human population instead, apparently. I guess I was just so mad at her I took it out on the human race. I looked at the map again and made my way to the last place I hadn't been to. Ah yes, a large village, and yep, you guessed it, another place to do more drugs. Here I went into another state of seeing the past. My wife, still angry, was mad I infected everyone trying to save her sassy ass. Look, lady, I did my best. Not even sure why I decided to save Miss Crazy. Look at her. She doesn't even know how to shower properly. She blamed me for killing this entire tribe by infecting them, even though this dude clearly has arrows in his chest and there's a kid crying next to him. My guess is he was actually crying about why his dad left him with such a bad haircut.
Was it worth it? Did you get what you wanted?
Damn right, lady. I got to do all the drugs while living in the woods and not having to deal with you blaming me for everything. It was totally worth it. And as a finale, I was creepily stared down by the Chili Bowl hair tribe. Every time I turned, more of them would just suddenly appear, staring at me with those resting bitch faces, all while my loving wife continued to blame me for killing all of them.
You killed them. How many times have you failed?
Oh, how supportive she is, telling me all I do is fail in life and to give up. Like, what the heck, woman? That's some heavy stuff you're saying. It all ended with a choice, though. I could either spend an eternity staring at the Chili Bowl tribe as they shouted murderer at me, or go into the light. So I said, see, I wouldn't want to be and jump straight into that light. But I guess that was the drugs talking, because in reality, I had just jumped off a cliff and died. No, seriously. Finally, I get some peace and quiet away from the wife. Tolerating her crap communication all this time really took a toll on me and was the true survival part of this game. And I did it all with only a hatchet. Now that is perfection. Not to even mention the only threat to my life was a couple of rattlesnake bites. I never saw a single tiger or tribal person besides Bruce Lee in the beginning. I beat Green Hell with just a hatchet and my expert drug making, survival skills, all in about 6 hours time. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to show your support, and I'll be sure to see you at the next Chili Bowl tribal party.